All right, welcome everyone. If you've been looking for a straightforward, no-nonsense path to understanding the absolute foundation of faith, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're diving into a beginner's blueprint to Islamic creed, which is known as Aqidah. You can kind of think of Aqidah as both the engine that drives a believer's life and the impenetrable shield that protects them. So, whether you're a complete novice taking your first steps in seeking knowledge, a young person with a ton of questions, or maybe just someone looking to solidify what you already know, this explainer is designed entirely for you. Let's get into it.
So I want to start by tackling a really heavy question, one that I know weighs on the minds of a lot of youths and skeptics out there today. Are we literally just here to eat, work, maybe raise a family and then die? Think about it. If our goals in life are exactly the same as the rest of the physical world, what actually makes our existence meaningful? It's a massive existential thought, right? But the source material we're going through today holds the ultimate answer to that exact question. Having a clearly defined creed is what elevates a human being from simply existing to living a life of profound, unshakable purpose.
To really answer that, I want you to listen to this absolutely incredible quote from the early Muslim companion Rabi bin Amir. He was asked by a powerful opposing general why the Muslims had come, and he didn't say, "Oh, we're here for money," or "we're here to conquer." No, he said, "God has sent us to deliver whom he wills from the worship of men to the worship of the Lord of men, from the narrowness of this world to the vastness of this world and the hereafter." I mean, wow, that is the power of a firm creed. It completely transformed their ultimate purpose from something worldly to something eternal.
To help you grab hold of that same clarity, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, why study Aqidah? Second, simplifying Tawhid. Third, proofs for the skeptic. Fourth, stories of the Sahaba. Fifth, the ultimate shield. And finally, number 6, your study plan.
All right, moving right into section 1, why study Aqidah?
You know, sometimes people hear a word like theology, and they just assume it's a bunch of dry, abstract terms meant only for scholars. But according to the sources, it is the absolute foundation of our everyday existence. Let's completely demystify the term itself. In the Arabic language, the word Aqidah actually comes from the root word for a knot. It represents what is firmly tied, settled, and anchored in your heart without a single shadow of a doubt. And here's the really fascinating part. Absolutely everyone has an Aqidah. Even an atheist has a creed. They firmly believe there is no creator. A secularist has a creed. Every single person on earth operates on a set of deeply held beliefs that dictate how they view the world. So the goal of studying Islamic creed isn't to just hand you an Aqidah out of nowhere. It's to make sure the one you already have is correct, based on ultimate truth, and tied so securely that it doesn't just unravel the second life gets tough.
Section 2, simplifying Tawhid.
Okay, so this concept of Islamic monotheism, or Tawhid, can definitely get buried in heavy academic jargon, but our source material breaks it down into 2 main halves that are actually super easy to digest. The first half is Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, or Lordship, and this simply means unifying God in his actions. It's the firm, grounded belief that God alone is the creator, the provider, the one who gives life, causes death, and meticulously manages this vast universe. Interestingly enough, the texts point out that even the pre-Islamic Arabs partially understood this. If you went up to them and asked who created the heavens and the earth, they'd naturally say God, because recognizing a supreme creator as the ultimate manager of the universe is just fundamentally wired into human logic.
But here is where the absolutely critical distinction comes in. This is Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah, or the unity of worship. This means unifying God in our actions. While lordship is all about what God does, worship is entirely about what we do. Where do you direct your prayers? Who do you call out to in times of absolute rock-bottom desperation? Who holds your ultimate hope and fear? This right here is where the actual test of faith lies. It's ensuring that every single act of devotion is directed strictly and exclusively to the Creator himself, and absolutely not to any created being, a statue, or even a modern-day idol like wealth or status.
Moving to Section 3, proofs for the skeptic.
Now, it's really important to understand that this creed is not just blind, unquestioning faith. The sources actively invite skeptics and non-believers to look at the logical proofs. Consider this simple, yet incredibly powerful analogy from the texts. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see a broken window with a rock lying inside on the floor. If someone walked up to you and said that the rock just magically jumped up by itself, flew through the air, and shattered the glass completely on its own, you'd think they were crazy, right? Your mind instantly demands a doer for the action. You'd know for a fact someone threw it.
So if we refuse to believe a rock can accidentally break a window by itself, how could anyone logically conclude that this infinitely complex, meticulously balanced universe is just a random accident? The rational mind naturally points to a careful designer.
And when we look at the ultimate source of this creed, the Quran, the logical proofs just pile up rapidly. The sources outline several undeniable points here. First, the Prophet was known by his entire society to be completely illiterate, and yet he produced a linguistically unmatched masterpiece. Second, the text contains highly precise future prophecies, like the incredibly unlikely victory of the Romans over the Persians that came true flawlessly. Third, it contains zero internal contradictions, which is crazy when you realize it was revealed over 23 years of intense hardship, war, and peace. And finally, it features this profound psychological depth, even reprimanding the Prophet himself at times. That is something a human author seeking power or fame would simply never do. These logical arguments prove it could only have come from a divine source.
All right, Section 4, Stories of the Sahaba. Let's ground all this theory in reality. For the early companions, the Sahaba, Aqidah wasn't just some abstract subject to pass a test on, it was literally a matter of life and death. Take the incredible story of Ikrimah. Fleeing from the Muslims, he ended up boarding a ship. While they were out at sea, a terrifying, deadly storm hit them. In that moment of sheer panic, as the waves are crashing over the deck, the sailors told everyone to call upon God alone. They completely forgot their idols because they knew deep down the idols couldn't save them out there. In the middle of that raging storm, Ikrimah had a massive realization. His innate human nature, his fitra, woke up. He thought to himself, if nothing can save me in the sea except the one God, then nothing can save me on land except him either. Extreme situations have a way of stripping away all the fake societal falsehoods and revealing pure, unadulterated monotheism. Ikrimah survived, returned home, and embraced the faith completely.
The sources also share this really stark narrative recounted by Salman al-Farsi that perfectly illustrates just how seriously they took these beliefs. The story goes that two men passed by a town where the people worshipped an idol. The townspeople essentially demanded a sacrifice from them before they let them pass. The first man said he didn't have anything to give. They told him, just sacrifice anything, even a fly. So, thinking it was no big deal, just a tiny bug, he sacrificed a fly to the idol. The story states he entered hell for this. Now, the second man was given the exact same demand, but he absolutely refused to compromise his creed. He explicitly stated he would never sacrifice anything to anyone other than God. They killed him and he entered heaven. The incredible tension in this story teaches a massive lesson. Compromising your core creed, even over something as seemingly insignificant as a fly, has eternal consequences.
Section 5. The Ultimate Shield. So how does this ancient creed apply to us today? Well, it acts as an impenetrable shield against some very real modern dangers our youth are facing right now. First up, nihilistic atheism, that crushing feeling that life has absolutely no meaning. A proper creed defeats this entirely by giving a profound, eternal purpose to every single action you take. Second, violent extremism and takfir, which is the incredibly dangerous practice of unjustly excommunicating other Muslims. A proper, balanced understanding of creed actually protects young minds from being radicalized because it teaches them exactly what does and does not constitute true faith. And finally, superstitions and magic. We see people getting scammed out of their life savings by fake spiritual healers out of pure fear. But a person with a strong creed knows for a fact that benefit and harm come only by the permission of God, which immediately renders all these scammers completely powerless over their minds.
Let's just contrast two different mindsets for a second. First, picture a person with a firm Aqidah. They experience this intense inner peace because they implicitly trust in divine destiny. When a calamity hits them, they grieve for sure, they're human, but they don't break. They know it was written and they know the afterlife awaits to balance the scales perfectly. Now, contrast that with someone lacking this creed. When a disaster strikes, they are left with this crushing anxiety and despair, genuinely believing this worldly life is all there is, and once it's gone forever. Truly understanding your creed is simply the greatest psychological resilience you can possibly build.
And finally, Section 6, your study plan.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, but what is the actual actionable roadmap for a beginner to start learning this? The sources provide a really practical step-by-step blueprint. Step 1. Start with foundational texts. The sources highly recommend a book called Usul al-Iman, which translates to The Fundamentals of Faith, because it's incredibly accessible and written specifically to be understood easily by beginners. Step 2. Focus heavily on mastering the 6 core pillars of faith: belief in God, His angels, His books, His messengers, the last day, and divine destiny. Step 3, and guys, this one is absolutely crucial. Always align your understanding of these texts with how the Sahaba, the early companions, understood them. They were taught directly by the Prophet, so their understanding is the gold standard that protects you from modern deviant misinterpretations. And step 4, turn this knowledge into daily action. Creed isn't just something you memorize to pass a quiz. It should literally change how you pray, how you treat people, and how you view every single event in your day.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final, incredibly profound thought derived from the texts. If you don't know who your Lord is, if you haven't taken the time to study His attributes, His rights over you, and the creed He asked you to hold, how can you expect to meet Him? Let that question linger for a bit. I really challenge you to take that very first step in learning your creed today. Tie that knot in your heart so tightly that absolutely nothing in this world can undo it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.